This is a self-muscle energy technique and stabilization isometric, just to try and address anybody who has an imbalance in muscles in their pelvis. It's common that people will feel like one hip is hiked up or one hip is rotated forward. So sometimes we do manual manipulation, but other times people can handle this on their own, just with a little stabilization maneuver that kind of activates the muscles on either side. So lying down on your back, typically on the edge of a couch, so that if you can get your foot to be touching the ground. Now the first way to do this would be more gentle, and I would bend my one knee as much as I can, my other leg is straight, and I'm just going to very lightly flatten my lower back, tensing my stomach, and press this bent knee heel into the table. Pressing it like I'm trying to lift my butt into the air, but I'm not actually coming up off the table. I'm just engaging my glute and tensing my stomach. Holding for 5 seconds, and then relax. Very gentle, especially if someone's really symptomatic. This is a very basic way for them to engage some trunk control and engage their glute on one side while their hip flexor on the other side is in a very small amount of a stretch because their leg is straight, right? So you hold each one for 5 seconds and complete that anywhere in the 5 to 15 times, each side, right? And it doesn't really matter which way your pelvis is rotated or elevated. This isometric contraction just tries to take muscles that are maybe a little bit more tense or have an increase in muscle tone on one side, and it gets that tension to relax, which sometimes can reset things and your pelvis will feel a little bit more symmetrical. Now to put a little bit more stretch or tension on the system, I'd get over towards the edge of my couch or this table, and I'd put one foot on the ground. Okay, now here, same idea, I gotta watch that if this is really tight, it's gonna wanna pull my lower back up off this table. I have to make sure I'm able to flatten my back into whatever I'm lying on. So if your couch is, say, like too high, you may want to put a book or just throw a pillow on the ground to raise your leg up a little bit so there's less tension, right? And the other knee is still bent like it was the first time, right? Now with this one, I'm going to take that bent knee, I'm going to bring it up towards my chest. So now you can see I'm kind of putting a little bit more tension from both ends on my pelvis, right? So here, what I'll tend to do is this hand that's holding this leg, I'll press this away, just kind of like how I press down into the table over here. So I'm just very lightly pushing against my hands, right? As I'm squeezing my butt a little bit on this side. So in order of the way I think about this, I tense my stomach, I lightly push away into my hands, and I lightly squeeze my glute. So now I'm just creating isometric tension with a little bit more stretch on both sides of the system. If it feels fine, I can pull this knee a little further up towards my chest and press there. So now I have more tension on my left hip flexor and a little bit more tension on the back side of my right glute and a little bit hamstring. So holding each one for 5 seconds, anywhere in the 5 to 15 times, and I would do both sides. This is just a way to pull at things on both sides of your pelvis. So if one side is tighter or just holding itself in more of a tense position, this little isometric contraction tends to take that muscle that's tight and get it to relax and make things feel a little bit more even.